Hey guys, you might have felt misled or even scammed if you bought one of these video cards back in the day. It's branded as a Radeon 9000 series, but really it's just a Radeon 8000 series with a 9000 series sticker on the box.
Isn't this great?
Reviewers back in the day, well, they didn't complain too much. Times were different. If AMD or Nvidia pulled a similar stunt these days, there would be widespread outrage. So back in 2002, this was a poor purchase. But what about now? Well, it turns out for retro gaming under Windows 98, this one is actually pretty good. So if you've been complaining about high prices for retro parts, maybe this one is the one for you. Also, it has a killer feature that the equivalent Nvidia cards do not have. So stay tuned for that one. And now let's take a closer look. Before going with the name Radeon, ATI branded their graphics chips as Rage. For example, we had the Rage 2C, the Rage 128 Pro, or the Rage XL. It was a confusing mess. To this day, it is very hard to shop around, with sellers often listing products incorrectly and clock speeds being all over the place and inconsistent. So ATI did some rebranding. Radeon was the new name. The naming convention was straightforward. A Radeon 7000 series can do DirectX 7, a Radeon 8000 series can do DirectX 8, and a Radeon 9000 series could do DirectX 9. In 2002, we got the brand new Radeon 9700 Pro. It had amazing performance, and of course it was DirectX 9 compatible, with games looking stunning and a few really beautiful tech demos to showcase what it can do. But ATI couldn't help themselves. They launched a budget GPU that you would find on video cards like a Radeon 9000 or 9200, and despite being part of the 9000 series, they were not compatible with DirectX 9. They could only do DirectX 8, and yeah, a lot of customers were confused and misled and didn't quite get what they expected. So today's video card, it is a Radeon 9000 VIVO. This one is a model from Sapphire with 64 megabytes of video memory. So yes, it can't do DirectX 9, but for the purpose of retro gaming under Windows 98 SE, this is actually a pretty good video card. What's also good is PCBWay, our channel sponsor. It is a one-stop shop for your printed circuit boards manufacturing or assembly, but they also offer services like CNC machining, 3D printing, and more. Check the video description for links and more information. And also, I want to thank Georgie. He sent me a few parts when I was on holidays in Austria, including this video card. So, Georgie, thank you, and I hope you enjoy this video. So let's take a look at the video card powered by ATI. There's a nice sticker on the heatsink. It is a Radeon 9000 VIVO with 64 megabytes of video memory. Here we have the VGA port to connect your monitor, and then instead of a second monitor interface, we have these ports, composite and S-video, but both input and output. And these ports are all thanks to this chip here. It's the ATI Rage Theater. On the back here is a yellow port, and this used to connect to a front panel bay device to be able to connect, for example, a camcorder and then capture that with this card. There are memory modules on both sides, 4 each on the front and on the back. And here we have the model number. I put it on the screen, and yeah, I ran a search. I found a data sheet. And here we have a table of all the supported clock speeds. So ours has a -4, and that means it's a 4 nanosecond module. It's rated up to 250 megahertz. We will later look up the clock speeds in software and then see if we can do some overclocking. The capacitors, they seem to be in good shape. I will put some close-ups on the screen. They don't appear to be bulging, but I noticed that the VGA signal quality is quite poor. There's some sort of interference going on. So maybe it's the capacitors, maybe they need recapping, but you let me know, what do you think? Here is our test system. I'm using a socket 754 motherboard from Gigabyte with an Athlon 64 3400 Plus. This is my fastest platform for HEP benchmarking. We have 512 megabytes of DDR memory. For storage, a 32 gigabyte SSD used with a Startek SATA to ID adapter. Here we are in Everest Home Edition. It identifies the clock speed as 250 megahertz. The memory is running at 200 megahertz, and we have a 128-bit interface. I noticed in Device Manager 2 unknown devices, and this relates to the ATI Rage Theater chip. It requires a special driver, the TV capture driver, and after installing that, those devices are working just fine. And now let's run some benchmarks. We're starting off with 3D Mark 99 Max. We're getting a score of 15,359. In 3D Mark 2000, we're getting a score of 10,330. And we're also running 3D Mark 2001 SE. I installed DirectX version 8.2 on this machine, and we're getting a score of 7,438. And now let's test a few gaming benchmarks. First up is GL Quake, and I put some footage here on the screen. You can immediately tell that it's blasting through the benchmark. Here are the benchmark results in a graph. You can see the resolutions increasing and then the performance, and even at 1280 by 1024 we're getting 145 FPS, so this video card is very powerful. Even in Expendable, which is a more demanding benchmark, we're getting fantastic results. Even at 1280 by 1024, still 95.9 FPS. In Draken, Order of the Flame, we can see a similar picture. You can play at 1280 by 1024 and you get silky smooth performance. So the performance is excellent, and now let's have a look at some overclocking. I set the memory speed to 250 megahertz. This is the rated frequency of these memory modules, and no problems. That's already a boost of around, it's 20%. And with the core, I tried my luck with 300 megahertz and it passed 3D Mark 2000 just fine. So we have a video card that has outstanding performance at resolutions like 800 by 600. So what we can do is use some of that untapped performance to enable some eye candy features and make our games look nicer. Anisotropic filtering is the first feature. Here we are in the game Serious Sam, and I'm gonna toggle back and forth. What anisotropic filtering does is keep the textures nice and sharp when you look into the distance. You can go into the driver and enable 16x anisotropic filtering, and here are some results for GL Quake. We can see the performance impact is minimal. The same can be seen in Draken, very little performance impact. So the bottom line is, on this video card, anisotropic 16x has minimal performance impact, so I recommend that you enable that in the driver and just leave it enabled for every game. And the other eye candy feature, which is the killer feature that I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that the equivalent GeForce cards do not have, is super sampling anti-aliasing. So super sampling anti-aliasing is the nicest looking version of anti-aliasing, but it has a huge performance impact. Here we have some screenshots. We're toggling between no anti-aliasing and 4x super sampling anti-aliasing, and it looks absolutely stunning. The performance impact, however, is quite high. Here we have GL Quake, and you can see we have multiple bars going on in this graph. So the blue color is with 2x super sampling, and the yellow bars are with 4x super sampling. So you're losing quite a lot of performance. So I would say if you're enabling 4x AA, stick with the 800 by 600 resolution and you should get good performance. Here we have the same benchmarks for Draken. So red is no AA, the blue bars are with 2x super sampling, and the yellow bars are with 4x super sampling. And again, the conclusion, stick to around 800 by 600 and you should have enough performance to play these retro games with 4x super sampling. Table fog unfortunately doesn't work. It's been an issue with Radeon cards under Windows 98, I'm afraid. Here we have some footage of Thief 2, and no fog, and this issue can be seen in quite a few games, unfortunately. The driver has a few compatibility options that you can toggle if a certain game gives you any dramas. One is very interesting. It's called alternate pixel center. In some games, the text can be a little bit blurry, or you might see a border on some of the edges on the screen. So try this driver option if this is an issue you're facing. And now we come to the section of my videos where I'm actually sitting down and playing some retro games, because this is the whole point. I often get caught up in benchmarking and hardware and testing all sorts of games, but I only get to see like the first level. I never get too much time to actually play these games. So this is something I started a while ago, and we're back playing Draken. So I saved the progress and I'm continuing playing this game. I got some really good tips in the last video. So it turns out the game didn't come with a map in the box, and there's also no easy way to use the map to find new objectives. So I just keep sticking to following the paths, and I look for interesting objects on the map. And you need to pay attention to some voiceover. It will tell you when you've reached an important area. So for example, here is a part where the dragon tells us, there's someone in this house. So yeah, we're gonna land there, enter the house, and it turns out this is a little side quest where we have to clear out a nearby mine of nasty spiders. In terms of technical aspects, I've noticed that 4x super sampling anti-aliasing doesn't seem to work. It's weird. The benchmark results, the scores are indeed lower, but then when actually playing the game, I have 4x SSAA enabled now. It's on the screen, but I can still see the jaggies. So maybe it's a driver issue with this particular game. Maybe an older driver version will work. If there's a rare chance that you know this situation and you've experienced it before, maybe you know workaround, please share it down below, because I want to play this game some more. So here I am in the mine clearing out the level from spiders, and yeah, the enemies are tricky. Although I play on easy, it's not super easy. I still die a lot, so quick save and quick load is your friend. But also every now and then save, create a proper save game and name it accordingly, because sometimes you can quick save in a tricky situation and then you are stuck in a loop where you constantly die over and over. Because now we have unlocked the dragon, you can fly around, and this is beautiful. It's a open world, a vast open world. You can go into the settings also and make sure you check the fog distance. So if you have a slow computer, you can dial that down, but then you can't really see too far. And there are some catapults or crossbows that are shooting stuff at you. So if the rendering distance is too close, you can't really see where they're coming from. You sort of have to eyeball it based on where those projectiles are coming from. So yeah, you take them out, and strafing is your friend. Like most FPS games, you want to strafe around and take out the enemy. But still, every now and then I'm dying. Just quick load again, try again. So far I haven't had to use any cheats. The game has plenty, but so far there are plenty of potions lying around to restore and replenish your health. There are many graphics settings inside the game, so don't just rely on the external graphics settings utility. And there's one option, one feature I only found at the end. You can enable a crosshair when you're flying around with the dragon, so this will definitely help me as I continue playing this game. So thumbs up for Draken, Order of the Flame. Share your thoughts on this one, and if you've played it, yeah, keep those tips and feedbacks coming. So yeah, that was a look back at graphics card history, where ATI, just after rebranding the video cards to offer more transparency and making it easier, they threw that out the window and put a 9000 series sticker on a card that's really an 8000 series GPU. So disappointing, but it is what it is. So back in the day, yeah, they got a bad reputation, and that's maybe one reason why prices are low, because yeah, people want the real thing. They want the real Radeon 80500, or they want a real Radeon 9700. These are overlooked, and that's your chance to get one for a good price. And now I want to hear from you. What is your feedback on this video card? Did you have one? Did you read reviews back in the day? I actually looked at some historic reviews, and most of the reviewers, they were very, well, not really harsh with what ATI did at the time. So they let him off the hook quite easily. If you pulled a stunt like this in nowadays, well, there would be all sorts of disaster and negative publicity. But yeah, times have definitely changed. So leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts on the Radeon 9000 series? Do you have one? Or what do you use in your retro gaming PC? And with that, I'm thanking you for watching and for supporting the channel, and I shall see you soon with another one.